All right, so today we're going to talk about characterization. I know my chair is squeaky, so pardon that. What is characterization? Well, simply put, characterization is the way that characters are portrayed in a story. So it's the way that an author describes the character. Characterization is the process that reveals a character's personality, appearance, and backstory to us. It typically occurs in two forms: direct and indirect characterization. Direct characterization is when the writer directly provides information about a character's personality and tells the reader what the character is like. So, in this way, the writer outrightly comes out and says this. This could be from the perspective of a third person narrator, or it could be a first person narrator saying, like, I am shy, I am courageous. Either way, it is the narrator of the story coming out and saying exactly what a character is like through the writer's writing. Indirect characterization, on the other hand, is when the writer uses the character's thoughts, words, and actions to reveal information about them. They can also use how other characters respond to that character, including what they think and say about / to them. So this is all of the other pieces of information that you get about a character besides what the writer directly tells you. Another important vocab word is character traits. So these are the qualities that a character has. For example, a character could be friendly, shy, aggressive, loyal, courageous, etc. Let's keep going. Delving a little bit deeper into direct characterization. We already talked about the definition. Here are a couple examples. The brave warrior and the quirky elf set out on a journey. Here, the narrator or writer of this sentence is directly telling us that the warrior is brave and the elf is quirky. There is no inferencing that the reader has to do to figure that out. Same thing with the next sentence. The quiet, obedient child never got in trouble. The writer or narrator is directly coming out and saying that this child is both quiet and obedient. Let's delve a little bit deeper into indirect characterization. So we already talked about the definition. Here are a couple examples. First, without concern for the dangers that lie ahead, the warrior headed out, not caring to look back at the toddling, colorfully dressed elf that dashed after her. Just like the previous sentence, we could probably infer that this warrior is brave and this elf is quirky or odd. But instead of outright coming and saying this, the narrator or author here is describing what is happening to these characters by what they say or what they do or what they look like. This would be an example of indirect characterization because the reader has to do some inferencing to figure out what the writer is trying to say about the character. Same thing with the next example. The child didn't make a sound and didn't dare to do anything other than sit quietly reading a book. Here, just like the second example on the direct characterization page, you can tell that this child is both quiet and obedient. But instead of outright coming and saying this, the author uses indirect characterization. It's really great to balance these types of characterization within your writing. While it's necessary to come out and say some things about your character, you also want to force the reader to get to know your character through inference and indirect characterization. When you're thinking of methods of indirect characterization, you can think about stealing. And no, I'm not encouraging you to steal anything, but I am giving you an acronym to remember that you can describe your character using their speech, their thoughts, the effect that they have on other characters, how they act, and what they look like. All 5 of these would be examples of indirect characterization. It's important to think about these 5 aspects as you're developing and writing a character. Here are some more tips about creating a character. You want to make your characters believable. Unless you're writing a completely unconventional story, your characters will be human in some way. They should have both flaws and redeeming qualities. Even if they're the villain, you want your reader to have something that they like about them. Try adding opposing or surprising traits to your characters to make the reader drawn in and really understand who this character is. Keep in mind that real people can't be reduced to a set of characteristics. They are unpredictable, mysterious, and flawed creatures. It's okay for your characters to be too. While stereotypes are a great start to a character, you want to try to build off of that. Make your characters have strong beliefs. So, whether they believe that their most important role in life is to save the environment, or they believe that their goal in life is to bring evil and darkness into the world and destroy every person who gets in their way. They should have a strong belief in something or someone. You should also make your characters have strong motivation. When I talk to people about my writing, and I am not a professional writer by any means, I talk about how my characters write my stories. If I really understand who my characters are and what their desires are, they will help write the story that I'm writing. For instance, as I'm coming to a crossroads in the plot and trying to figure out where I go next, I can really sit down and think, what would this character do faced with this trial? If I know my character well enough, and if they're a flawed, complex, three-dimensional character, the answer should be easy, and I shouldn't have to spend much time thinking about where the plot should go. Then, finally, consider their relationships with others. We are a product of all of the people that we encounter in our lives, whether that's our parents, our friends, our siblings, the person who sold us coffee this morning. They probably affected our mood. Every person you encounter affects who you are. And the same goes for the characters that you create in your writing. Who a character encounters and how they feel about those people has a huge impact on them. Now that you've learned about what characterization is and the two methods of characterization, both direct and indirect characterization, as well as gotten a few extra tips, I hope you're ready to try your hand at creating some complex, interesting, exciting characters for your writing. Characters are truly what draws people in and makes people keep coming back to a story. Whether that story is the show that you watch on TV, your favorite novel, or the latest next Netflix series. Characters are what keep calling us back. Write characters that are both interesting and believable. And then after you do that, don't forget to describe them well. Thanks for listening and have a great day.